3i Atlas. It's like Santa Claus, you know? I mean, he's everywhere but nowhere. The North Pole, but no pole. I mean, it's pretty fascinating. And I got to love the different articles and the news articles and papers that people are writing on 3i Atlas, the contrast of opinions and theories. I love it. It's awesome. I mean, we've got the Electric Universe guys that are saying, no doubt, it's showing all signatures of an electrical comet. And then I've got people on the other side of that coin saying, there's no way it could be a comet. It's an extraterrestrial spacecraft. So, I mean, maybe it's both. Probably not. Probably not. Somebody brought up a great point yesterday, or actually a couple of days ago. I think it was Drew that brought this point up. If an alien civilization has the technology to build a shelter inside of a comet that's traveling 130,000 miles an hour, that's actually rotating like this through the universe, they would probably use that technology for another way to travel through the cosmos. But it would be a great way to, I don't know, I guess do it clandestinely, right? Like, hey, man, you want to build a spaceship in a comet and then travel the solar system, go check out Mars and Earth and Venus and Jupiter. We're going to take this trajectory that's only 0.004% chance of it being natural. I mean, I'm going to get Professor Loeb on the show. I really want to talk to him about his papers and his the data sets that he's come up with on some of these equations. Fascinated. I'm definitely open-minded. It's just my mind isn't so open that it's going to fall out on the sidewalk, right? Have an open mind because it's only going to work if it's open. But if it's too open, it falls out and somebody steps on it and it doesn't work. So how the heck are you, everybody? Thank you very much for being here with me. And you know what? Before we get into this, I've got new data. I've got new images from different observatories and a whole bunch of information to share with you on 3i Atlas. I thought this was kind of funny. So this is a slow week for me. You can actually follow me on Strava, but these are my numbers so far. You see that? This week, 66.66 miles. Elevation gain, 4,928 feet. Time, 4 hours and 53 minutes. That's on my bike. And then hiking, these are my hiking numbers. Diamond from the Oppenheimer Ranch Project's been going hiking with me. We also did a great bike ride the other day in Durango. But I've got 11.38 miles on foot, 3,100 feet elevation gain, 4 hours, 22 minutes. And that's all this week. And it's a pretty slow week for me. So some people said, Rex, show your Strava numbers. It motivates us. So there you go. I hope it gives you some motivation. And remember to get your Gladiator barley and your Boomer Boost. The stuff's amazing. They should call it Gen X Boost. I take this stuff pretty much every single day. I've got two more of these upstairs, and the stuff is awesome. If you go to boomerboost.com, use the code REX20, you'll get 20% off your order. Plus, you can set up auto ship and get an additional discount. So you can stack discounts, get multiple discounts. And I think you'll thank me later. Try it for a month. Let me know how you feel after 30 days. And quick shameless plug. All right, let's get into it, shall we? And Shane, brother, thank you so much for the super chat. Shout out to Salt Lake City. Much love to you and your family. I hope your family's doing awesome, man. And I've got some data sets to share with you. So let's just jump right in. I think Diamond's in the chat also. Hey, Diamond from the Oppenheimer Ranch Project. Good to see you. Please be nice. All right, check this out. Here we go. Boom. Sets of jets surrounding 3i Atlas could be used for navigation of a spacecraft as second interstellar object is spotted in the sky. And that's the New York Post. Also, Live Science, irradiated comet 3i Atlas grows green and hides its tail. A new image that was published a couple of days ago, Live Science. This is recent from Professor Loeb on his Medium page. And I have been subscribed to Professor Loeb now for a few weeks, and I'm glad that I am, is the new nearly interstellar object C2025 V1 related to 3i Atlas. That's a new object that was spotted that could potentially be interstellar. This is pretty cool. This is Comet Lemon, which we were just talking about. And this image you can see from Comet Base. This is showing that it has very interesting characteristics as well, potentially similar to 3i Atlas. The latest image of 3i Atlas from the Lowell Discovery Telescope is right here. And the Lowell Discovery Telescope is in Happy Jack, Arizona. And you can also find this on Professor Loeb's page. You can see the object right here. I've got some better images I'm going to show you in a moment that are very recent. We're also going to look at his paper, First Radio Signal from 3I Atlas, Absorption by Hydroxyl Radicals, OH Molecules, like Ohio. This image is hot off the press. This was taken yesterday. This image was taken yesterday, as you can see right here, stacked RGB images of 3I Atlas, 4:10 Universal Time, November 8th. The sunward direction opposite to the arrow in the top panel is pointing towards the bottom left corner. So credit to Jagger Remen Prosperi. I hope I said that right. Well, I want to talk about this one right here. I think this one's pretty cool. So let's get into it. I've got notes to share with you. So the interstellar object 3I Atlas, discovered in July, shows imaging from November 8th, as you can see right here, and showing at least 7 distinct jets. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Emanating from the object, 7 distinct jets, some pointing sunward. Professor Loeb, Harvard astrophysicist, speculates that these jets could be thrusters used for navigation of a spacecraft. He acknowledges the alternative. They may simply result from natural cometary activity, but he's referring to pockets of ice and sublimating, not the plasma hypothesis linked towards the electric universe cosmology. The object has reportedly exhibited non-gravitational acceleration and a blue glow, which Loeb argues could hint at an internal engine or technological signature. Observations suggest that the mass ejections would need to be substantial for a purely natural comet scenario, which Loeb uses to strengthen the possibility of an artificial origin. He writes that the mass ejected as jets must represent a large fraction of the object's original mass in the natural comet scenario. And a second interstellar type object, which is C2025 V1, which I just brought up, has also been spotted, prompting speculation of linkage. Loeb argues the two are unlikely to be connected due to their large separation and the insufficient non-gravitational acceleration of 3I Atlas to bridge the distance. Now, if 3I Atlas truly has jets that are directional and strong enough to impart non-gravitational acceleration, that challenges conventional comet models, which typically eject mass more uniformly. The possibility of a technological origin, even if low probability, raises major implications for astronomy, space exploration, and SETI, search for extraterrestrial intelligence fields. Observing an interstellar object with such behavior offers a unique chance to test models of comet formation dynamics and the physical properties of objects from outside of our solar system. And the mention of another interstellar object adds to the story. If 2 or more such visitors appear, that could hint at more frequent interstellar traffic than previously thought. Yes, that is true. So let's talk about this new object that was just discovered. The new object that was just discovered, C2025 V1 Borisov. Let me pull that up here real quick for you. This guy right here. C2025 VI Borisov, cataloged November 2nd by Gennady Borisov, known for discovering 2I Borisov, hence the name Borisov. C2025 V1 has an eccentricity of 1.0095, which places it just over the bound-unbound threshold. But the author argues it's likely originated from our solar systems or cloud, rather than truly interstellar space. The orbital plane of C2025 V1 is inclined at 113 degrees relative to the ecliptic and nearly perpendicular to the orbit of 3I Atlas. Very interesting. Loeb examines whether C2025 V1 could be related to 3I Atlas, for example, a fragment or a probe launched. That's one of the theories that Loeb has suggested. If we are to ever be visited from an interstellar spaceship, that it may potentially drop off probes to observe the planets and then send back data to the mothership. Great sci-fi. I mean, that's what humans would probably do, so why not? Their closest possible separation is 0.5 astronomical units. They were never physically near without significant propulsion. So that is one of his. So let me just repeat that. Loeb examines whether C2025 V1 could be related to 3I Atlas. For example, a fragment or probe launched by it. He dismisses that possibility because their closest possible separation is 0.5 astronomical units, and they were never physically near without significant propulsion. The measured non-gravitational acceleration for 3I Atlas is insufficient to account for bridging the gap. Loeb discusses the jet structure observed in 3I Atlas. He notes that the object does appear to have at least 7 distinct jets, and if natural outgassing is the cause, then the object must have shed a very large fraction of its mass to produce the reported acceleration, if you take the traditional comet cosmology. This right here is another recent image taken November 3rd of 3I Atlas showing no tail. And this is from Ivanov, and I've got links to this as well. So we'll get back to that in a moment. Where are we at here? No, we're not there yet. We want to go back to this guy. All right. Loeb discusses the jet structures observed in 3I Atlas. He notes the object appears to have at least 7 distinct jets, and if natural outgassing is the cause, then the object must have shed a very large fraction of its mass to produce the reported acceleration. He contrasts natural versus technological origin. Outgassing with ejection speeds of volatiles 300 to 500 meters a second, which is a typical cometary, would require a large mass loss to produce the acceleration. Thrusters, on the other hand, or propulsion ejection speeds of kilometers per second, could produce the same acceleration with much less mass ejected, making a probe scenario more plausible, though still speculative. Loeb proposes that upcoming observations, notably when 3I Atlas comes closest to Earth, December 19th, the day before, the timing is amazing. I love the dates, and some people are linking dates to holidays and religious dates. I'm finding close, but some of these dates are still like the winter solstice is huge, right? The winter solstice has been embedded in humanity's cultures since probably the beginning of time, or just about the beginning of time. So to have an object appear at perihelion or becoming its closest approach to the Earth the day before, I think is pretty cool, but that's just speculative to say that it's an intelligent asteroid of some type or an intelligent object of some type. You could argue either way, and I find it remarkable either way. We're just going to go where the data takes us. That's where we're going, and we're having an open mind. Should focus on outflow velocity, mass flux, and composition of the jets to discern natural versus artificial origin. Loeb concludes that C2025 V1 is not likely to be related to 3I Atlas because the orbital geometry, distances, and measured accelerations don't support a common origin or link. At the same time, he stresses that 3I Atlas remains an object of interest precisely because of its jet mass loss behavior is unusual and merits further scrutiny. And I would agree with that. All right, let's take a look at, let's pull up. Let's go to this one. No. Let's go to this one. All right. This is Loeb's article, A Complex Jet Structure Emanates from 3I Atlas After Perihelion. You can see what looks like a tail here. That looks like a tail. Well, it looks like several tails. Look at all these different jets shooting out of here. Look at that. It's all over the place. Stacked images constituting 24 exposures in the green filter, each lasting 35 seconds. 2 exposures in a red filter and 2 exposures in a blue filter show a large glowing halo extending out of 500,000 kilometers. The images show at least 7 distinct jets, some of which are anti-tails in the sunward direction. Given that a large number of jets appear in many directions, the reported non-gravitational acceleration of 3I Atlas, as discussed here, requires much more than 10 to 20% of its initial mass to have been ejected near perihelion. Only a fraction of that mass carries an excess momentum in a preferred direction. This means that the cloud of debris around 3I Atlas must represent a substantial fraction of its initial mass for a natural comet. However, technological thrusters could give the object a boost, with much less mass jetted out at a higher speed. At the time of observations, 3I Atlas was 7 to 10 degrees above the horizon. Eventually, twilight interfered with the observations, which took place under a bright moonlight. Is the network of jets associated with pockets of ice on the surface of a natural cometary nucleus, or are they coming from a set of jet thrusters used for navigation of a spacecraft? We do not know. Well, what's that one comet, 67P? Check this out. Look at the nature of this and how it's kind of dumbbell or dumbbell shaped. It's kind of dumbbell shaped. And talk to the EU guys and the plasma guys and gals about this object. And they're going to show you how it was created through plasma interactions and electrical scarring. This is a massive cliff on the object. So there's cliffs on these objects, huge cliff structure. And because they had spacecraft film this asteroid, 67P. And if you look at the EU model on cosmology, I think it explains this very, very well. This object right here, you can see the way it's rotating and it's outgassing in different directions. And these outgassing in different directions reminds me a lot of what we see. Where are we at? Right. Dang it. Right here. This guy. You know, and equally as fascinating, in my opinion, equally as fascinating as this thing is potentially a piece of a planet that is billions and billions and billions of years away from us at a speed of approximately 130,000 miles an hour, give or take a few miles. I mean, think about that. That in and of itself is just as fascinating. Well, not quite, but almost as fascinating as an alien spacecraft. And keep in mind the way that this thing was able to travel through the universe, and who knows how many different systems this thing has traveled through, or how much deep space, how much debris it's missed along the way. Like, how did it make it here? And then how is it making it through our solar system with such precision? I would really like that to be explained better, because I don't know. I mean, that to me is my, that's why I'm not convinced one way or the other. That's why I'm not convinced it's totally natural, and I'm not convinced it's totally artificial, because I want to see how this thing managed. And I want to be able to track this thing way back. Like, let's figure out how far back we can take this thing and look at all the stuff in between that it managed to maneuver through. It's pretty cool. But if the universe is alive, which absolutely it's alive, and the planets are intelligent, I mean, even like the atom, the way that the neurons and the electrons move around the atom with intelligence, well, the whole universe is that way. I mean, the planets, the stars, everything is moving with purpose. Our bodies, inside of our bodies, outside of our bodies, it's all moving with purpose. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right, so let's go to, I've got actually some pretty cool images from I think this is from the Naval Observatory in Spain of 3I Atlas. And let's take a look at these, and then we'll look at some different ones. Yeah, all right. So the IRIDA Observatory, check this out. Look at all these different comets that we can track. And this is not NASA, fortunately. So, you know, NASA doesn't have a complete monopoly on all the space images. I think it's interesting to look at some of these objects and compare them to 3I Atlas here. How circular that looks. Up and at 'em. All right. So What do you think about all that, ladies and gentlemen? Pretty cool, right? What else I got for you? The image captured November 5th from the Lowell telescope. The object appears as a point source. This isn't the Lowell telescope, though. Here's the Lowell telescope. Let's go back to this for a second. The object appears as a point source, bright ball of light comparable to the telescope's point spread function, meaning it looks fairly compact, not obviously extended. There's a faint glow or coma around it, visible in a green filter, which is optimized for detecting diatomic carbon, but no clear indication of a dust or gas tail extending away from the sun. The absence of a visible tail is noteworthy because given the earlier detection of non-gravitational acceleration of 3I Atlas reported by NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory, one would expect substantial mass loss if it were a typical comet. Loeb estimates that in a natural comet scenario, the object must have lost at least 13% of its mass during perihelion passage to yield the observed acceleration. Loeb acknowledges a caveat. The image was taken when 3I Atlas was only about 13 degrees away from the sun in the sky, which means the tail, if pointing roughly away from the sun, could be nearly edge on to Earth and thus difficult to detect. He notes that as the angular separation from the sun increases in the coming weeks, terrestrial observations and observers will have a better chance of determining whether a classic comet tail is present or absent. Yeah. There you go. What else we got in the news? While you're here, let me share with you some other interesting news articles that we have today. Super Typhoon Foom Wong slams into the Philippines. The typhoon made landfall on the island of Luzon with sustained winds of 185 kilometers an hour and gusts up to 230 kilometers an hour, which is 140 miles an hour. At least 2 fatalities, unfortunately, and around 1 million people evacuated ahead of the storm. It is the 21st storm to hit the country this year, coming shortly after recovery efforts from the previous major storms. And the Philippines is facing heavy ongoing disaster risk, large evacuations, major potential for flooding, and infrastructure damage. I wonder how Jamaica's doing. My, how quick we forgot about Jamaica, Mon. Wow, those guys and gals got hammered out there. The most intense wind speeds ever recorded, and we've been recording wind speeds in that area since at least the mid-1800s. Also, in other news, Mashhad, Iran, facing severe water crisis. Reports say dam reservoir supply in Mashhad have fallen to below 3% capacity as the region battles prolonged drought. Officials warned that water use management has shifted from recommendation to necessity. And Saudi Arabia sets terms ahead of normalization talks with Israel. Ahead of a scheduled meeting with President Donald Trump on November 18th, Saudi Arabia says it will only move to normalize ties with Israel once a roadmap for a Palestinian state is established. The potential agreement would reshape Middle East geopolitics and U.S. influence in the region. In other news, shots fired at federal agents during immigration enforcement in Chicago. During an immigration enforcement operation in Chicago's Little Village neighborhood, a man reportedly fired shots at federal agents from a black Jeep. Then he fled the scene. In addition, paint cans and bricks were thrown at Border Patrol vehicles, and the scene involved tear gas deployment. In other news, a boat capsized off of Malaysia near the waters from Myanmar. 13 were rescued, 7 dead. And this is big news that's not making the news right here. Listen to this. The COP30 climate summit began in Belém, Brazil, and the U.S. is absent because they got to build up stuff in Venezuela. Duh, they got things to do. U.S. air travel expected to fall to a trickle ahead of Thanksgiving due to ongoing government shutdown and air traffic control staffing shortages. That's going to be interesting to see what happens. Very, very interesting. What else do we got? Severe water crisis in Mashhad. Went over that with you. Global aviation concerns. The FAA mandates flight cuts at major U.S. airports due to controller shortages amid shutdown. Media bulletin-style compilations show Ukraine and Russia trading overnight strikes on energy and infrastructure facilities. There was a 6.7 magnitude earthquake off Japan's coast, triggering a tsunami advisory. And obviously, the U.S. absence at COP30 raises doubts about ambition and funding commitments for major climate initiatives. Well, yeah, I mean, we got to fund all these data centers now, and we got to have more power for the data centers. Do you think that we're going to try and cut down on energy when we need more? Go nuclear. Now we're going to make modular nukes, and we're going to bury them a mile underground. You think I'm joking? Ongoing U.S. government shutdown, day 40, prompts a rare Sunday Senate session as economic risks escalate. And what else do we have? That would be it for today. But join us tonight because I will be back later. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Have a beautiful Sunday and have a beautiful week. Check us out on Rumble as well. Make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel here. Hit the bell for all notifications. It'll take you like 90 seconds to subscribe to us on Rumble. Totally free. That helps us out. And be the change you want to see, everybody. Thank you for watching.